for joining us here on Trends and Friends. I'm Brittany Escobar. This is Gigi and
Chi-Chi. It's Chi-Chi.
Oh, Chi-Chi. I thought
Yes.
it was Gigi.
C-H.
Yes. Okay.
Chi-Chi. This is Chi-Chi, and I'm Emily Falkenberg, but that's not important. So coming up on the show today, it is Training Tuesday, which is why little Miss Chi-Chi is here. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know before you take your furry friends out to the water. Plus, Moonlight Musicals is putting on their first summer production outside.
And coming up, a day to recognize our community health workers. But before we get into all that, we'll go ahead and check in with Terry Furman. She's in the HD News Center with a look at today's news headlines. Terry.
All right, thanks so much, ladies. Yeah, we'll start tonight on your news at 6, but for now, we'll send it back to the ladies in the studio.
All right, thanks a lot,
Thanks, Terry.
And we'll go ahead and check in with Heidi Wagner. Of course, it is hot out there today. Heidi, how hot is it going to get?
Well, the good news is it's today's summer series topic.
It does. Oh, Chi-Chi, look how famous you are.
Chi-Chi is joining us today because yesterday we talked in our summer series where we talk all things summer about heat safety for humans. But it's very important to talk about heat stroke and heat exhaustion in your furry friends as well, because that's something we worry about during this time of year. So, dogs obviously spend a lot of time outside, something you want to keep in mind. According to the veterinarians at Live Oak here in Lubbock, dogs are not capable of sweating like humans in order to cool their bodies. They dispose heat from their bodies by panting and to a lesser degree through their paw pads. When the dog's body temperature begins to rise above 104 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit, panting alone will not be enough for them to cool down, which results in hypothermia or heat stroke. Pets can also have predisposing factors that can increase their risk of hypothermia, something you want to talk to your vet about. And let me see if I can get this right. Brachycephalic breeds, aka dogs with flat-faced or short noses, are predisposed to hypothermia a little bit more compared to other dogs because of the conformation of their upper airways. That includes Boston Terriers, Bulldogs, all kinds of bulldogs, pugs, Shih Tzus, breeds like that.
Okay, cool. And so there's different ways to prevent this within your dog. So our first tip is always have access to water for both drinking and cooling. And Chi-Chi's running all over the pod, so they can really cool off their body at all times. Keep them in well-ventilated areas, and do not exercise your pets during the hottest part of the day. I think that we cannot stress that one enough.
Oh yeah, and
because especially with their pads, you don't want their paw pads to get really hot walking on the pavement.
That's right, and I've actually seen pictures of paw pads that have been like scarred and burned off because of this. So again, you don't want to be working out in this extreme heat either. So just keep it morning and late evening. Shade's always good. You don't want to leave your pets in vehicles.
Well, and another thing, so if you do see a dog in a hot car, and it's the same rules that apply for a human, you are allowed to break that person's window without consequences.
That's right. And signs and symptoms to look for: rapid panting, lethargy, weakness, incoherentness, dehydration, which I didn't realize with dogs it's hard to tell. So if they're not peeing a whole lot, not a lot of urination, or thick, tacky saliva, and obviously an elevated temperature, 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, and obviously if they are unresponsive.
It's always some good things to look at.
Yeah. And finally, what to do if your dog is showing these symptoms: quickly cover the patient, aka your dog, cat, whatever animal it is, head to toe with cool water but not ice water, and proceed to take them to the nearest veterinarian as soon as possible.
Okay, always really good tips that you want to remember for your furry friends. And you want to keep pets just like Chi-Chi very safe. And Chi-Chi's going to make another appearance in the next segment, but we would like to know what you think about these topics. Head on over to Facebook. Tell us how you keep your dogs cool. Show us a picture of your pools and everything like that. We want on KLBK.com.
That's right. There's still more to come here on Trends and Friends. Coming up, we're going to be talking all Training Tuesday tips for your dogs when you take them to the water. That's next.
And welcome back to Trends and Friends. It is Training Tuesday, brought to you by the Rocking Paw Dog Training and Chi-Chi. So we are talking all things that people need to know before you take your dogs, their kids. Do you take them to the pool, put them in a pool, put really everything they need to know before they put them in water?
Sure.
Okay, where do we start?
So let's talk a little bit about safety. If you have a in-ground pool or a pool that has, one of the above grounds that has a deck around it to where the dogs can get to it, we need to make sure that the dogs can swim and they have an easy way out. There are certain breeds that don't swim well. Short-legged dogs, maybe like your Bassets and your your dachshunds, and then anything with a big old heavy head like a English bulldog or a Frenchie, they could of course sink. Just recently in the news there was English bulldog on the at a resort, and it had drowned, and so we have to watch bulldogs very, very carefully. We have a life jacket here.
Look at it.
If you are going to the lake or going to take your dog swimming and you don't know if they can swim, then we want to make sure that we can size them with a life jacket and make sure that it fits properly. We don't want them slipping out of it. We don't want it tipping where it has their head in the water, and of course, you know, the body up. So we want to make sure that it fits well.
Well, and if they do happen to fall in, you can always grab them by the...
Right. It's almost like a suitcase, right?
It really is.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. And then we have water intoxication. This is something that we don't talk about a lot, but have you ever seen dogs that like to bite at water, or people will spray them and their dogs were to bite at the hose?
Yeah, right. That's not good for them.
No, because what can happen is they can get water intoxication just like a human can. You know, if we drink too much water, it basically deletes the blood-water ratio and throws us out of balance, and the same thing can happen to a dog.
I had no idea.
So we want to make sure that we're watching them for signs. If they're at the lake trying to bite at the waves, or if you're playing in the water hose, that they're not just constantly biting at it. Make sure and give them rest. But your signs and symptoms can be glassy eyes, panting, excessive drooling, bloating, and then of course they can become unconscious, kidney failure. And so we want to make sure that we are watching them. And so it's not all fun and games when they're just biting at the hose.
Right.
So when you're out there in the pool, also some dogs get scared. Don't just throw them in the pool thinking that they're going to be able to swim. Because I mean, if you threw Chi in the water, it would take approximately a tablespoon of water to fill up her whole lungs, as small as she is. So we want to make sure that you put them in easy, and then
integrate them to the water.
And then they can also hurt a human. So if they're scared, they want to automatically swim over to the human, and then they can start pushing them under. So we want to make sure that we are watching them very carefully.
Yeah, very true. Now, what's the rule whenever it comes to dog pools?
Change the water often.
Okay, so there's really no rules.
Mosquitoes. Well, sure.
Okay.
I mean, if you have a dog like Chi-Chi, you want to make sure that, you know, if she's unattended, that her body is above, you know, the water line. But at our house, our border collie just knocks all the water out. He just gets in and then digs in the water and goes flying everywhere.
Well, because we have one of these for our dogs. Would you recommend them for people to really have?
Love them.
Okay, so it's a good idea to have.
Really good idea to have.
Okay.
Sometimes we have dogs that like to dig or sit in their water bowls in the middle of summer.
Fine.
And so what happens is you leave for work with a full bowl of water, but you come back and they've been without water all day because at the beginning of the day they, of course, knocked all the water out. So a pool is a great thing to do.
Yeah.
And they, of course, they come in different sizes, so you don't have to get one this big.
Yes.
And so it's great for them to get in and cool off, and it's also great for them to be able to drink from as well.
Well, see, we have a pool, and we fill it up with clean water often. My dog still goes and finds the muddiest hole that she can find and just sits in that.
Sure. Remember, we have a lot of people that complain about their dogs in the backyards digging holes. What's actually happening is they're digging for a cool spot in the dirt. So it's very important during the summer that our dogs have plenty of shade, that they have plenty of water, and that you're checking on them. Of course, you know, I'm not one of those that leaves my dogs outside all day anyways. They're not ornaments people. Make sure that you bring them in and they're part of the family.
So true. A lot of things to remember. Of course, you can always find Jill and Payne at the Rocking Paw Dog Training, located at 6634 Foster Road.
Right.
I know. Or you can always email Jolynn at joe@rockingpaw.com. All right, Jolynn, thank you so much for being here on this Training Tuesday and for giving me a new friend in Chi-Chi. But don't go anywhere. Midlight Musicals is holding their first performance of the summer season, and we have the details whenever we come back.